And we're live. Okay. Well, here we are, and I am so happy and excited to be able to share with you guys Clint Baggett. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I can think of no better gift than the gift. And we're live. Okay. Well, here we are, and that's called feedback. And that is purely operator error. I thought I muted it and I unmuted it. So there's a little delay in the broadcast. So, all right, my friends and gems, as you know, you don't have to be perfect to do this. So here we are with Clint Baggett, and we also have Rick and Carol. And Clint, I'm so excited that you're going to be able to share with us your testimonial of your experience of wearing this life-saving technology called, well, as you know, we used to be able to call them stem cell activation patches, and now the FDA has told us, no, we don't want you calling them stem cell activation patches. We want you calling them cell activation, phototherapy, photobiomodulation patches, thingamajiggy patches, or just plain old patches, anything, but just drop the word stem cells, because we now consider stem cells a drug, even with products that are natural, organic, and holistic. And even though the light that we're using is not even from outside of our body, it's the light that's inside of our body, but they get to make the rules, we get to follow them. So
Yeah, totally.
thank you for sharing. And so tell us a little bit about, about when did you start on the patches and what's your story?
Yeah, if you're okay, maybe I'd even like to go just a little bit before that so people can kind of understand where I was and why and all that. I and as some people have I've been on some episodes with you before. Some people may know, back when I was 20, I was homeless and kind of, figuring out life. And I had, the developed what I call, and I now teach it in my Pathfinder school, the ability to find the path forward, right? To find a way to the success that you want, even when it's not always apparent. And I went from homeless to making a six-figure salary by the time I was 30. But shortly after that, in my early 30s, I had dealt with a lot of trauma, PTSD from the military. I had been in a couple car accidents. I was working in a very high level, top company in the world doing critical facilities infrastructure management. And yeah, I was stressed. I had kind of chronic depression, chronic anxiety, PTSD, ADHD. I mean, the list goes on. And the medical industry, at the time, the best that I at that moment was able to get from providers was a litany of prescriptions to take. Right, I had about 14 pills a day that they had me on, and I just felt that that was wrong. And so that Pathfinder in me, I knew, I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this, right? So I set out about studying the body, studying the human consciousness, starting to understand the relationship between our mind, our thoughts, our memories, physical experiences, and how that manifests in our body. And that led me to Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, where Lillian, I met you at advanced student seminar, which was fantastic and facilitated that connection. And through just meditation and mindfulness and some awareness practices, I was able to reduce that amount of medications I was taking significantly down to just a handful, right? And really, what happened is I got rid of all the medicine I didn't need, and I got down to the medicine that was actually helping me. But I still wanted to be able to go further, right, and continue my journey of growth and physical health, physical wellness, and what I like to call mental wealth, right, to get into that state where your mind is working for you productively, your body is working for you productively, and your life is working for you in a productive and fulfilling way. And that's when, about that time, you introduced to me these patches. And so it was kind of new. I liked the idea. I understood the science of it, because what I was doing on a personal level with meditation was learning how to align my consciousness so that my thoughts resonate in me a better state of well-being, so that I'm creating energetic signals within my body to help my body align to better health. And this process was working, and it was beautiful. I'd meditate every day. I had the grid work process we've talked about, which helped me calibrate my mind and calibrate my attitude and perspective in such a way that, I was allowing health in my body. But what was amazing is when you were explaining to me what the patches were doing, I was like, wow, this is a physical application of what I'm doing consciously, which is incredible, which is changing the energy in the body. And we know that, like, they've done many studies. When you talk to a plant negatively while it's growing, like, it will wilt. If you neglect it altogether, it will die. But if you speak lovingly to it and you give it that good energy, it will prosper and blossom and stuff. And so this is really what we want to do for our body. And that's what I seen in the opportunity in these patches. And I was really excited to try them. So I first began trying them on myself. And where I was at that point is I had, well, despite COVID and everything, gained about 45 extra pounds, right? So I had gained some weight. And, this was making it hard for me in my mobility. I needed more energy to exercise. I needed to be able to get out and do more. So I started for that and also to help me with my ADHD to stabilize and then be able to move forward off the supplements I was taking to help with that. So I began that journey for myself, and I'll say I have lost 45 pounds, right? I have, and I do feel more energetic. I have a clearer state of mind. I, yeah, it's been phenomenal. The amount of energy and help, and I want to say, like, this to anybody who's listening. I didn't put the patch on and all of a sudden weight just started disappearing. I knew that I also needed to change some of my eating behaviors, but what the patch did, I believe, was help me and my body to start functioning in a more efficient manner so that my cravings went way down. Like, all of a sudden, I just found that I wasn't craving sweets as much. I wasn't, I felt more conscious about my food. I started eating when I felt like I needed to eat. And it started giving me that room and sense of controls because I was really honestly like in a panicked, stressed eating most of the time. And so, with the combination of the meditation, the mindfulness, I believe the patches really gave me that jump start physically, biologically in my body to manifest the success that I was looking for fast. So I would say it was probably, I mean, end to end, maybe a year, but the majority of it, once I started using the patches, it was about 6 months that I lost the 45 pounds. And so, you know, I'm moving faster, I'm more energetic, I'm sleeping better, I have less pain in my low back because I'm not carrying that extra 45 pounds around in the front of me. And so, and I look better in my clothes too, right? So, like, I'm not an Abercrombie model or anything like that, but I do feel better, and I'm super thankful for that. But that I understand that people could say that's subjective, maybe this or that. But then what also happened during that time, after about a month or two into using the patches, I introduced them to my dad. And as you know, my dad was diagnosed several years ago with having what appeared to be Parkinson's and was later determined to be a central tremor in his nervous system. And this caused rapid shaking of his arms and limbs, and as well as it was developing numbness. Neuropathy, I believe is the word, in the feet where he can't feel his feet and stuff like that. And so he was spending most of his time in a chair. And my mom had passed away, so he was alone. And staying with us for a good while. While we were trying to figure out what would help him, so we started putting the patches on him. And where he felt comfortable with the patches, interestingly enough, was on his feet. Right, so he was using them in that placement. But the change that happened in him blew my mind. Right, so his clarity of mind started to come back. And also want to add in this because I did have someone reach out to me and ask about this. Um, to help him with the Parkinson's, the central tremor, he actually had an implant put in his neck, a stimulator that controls the shaking, right? So there was a procedure that was used to help him stop shaking. But even once he was done shaking, his body was weak. He was real, kind of struggling. He still had the neuropathy in his legs and so forth. So we started using the patches, and the changes in him were amazing. He started to be able to speak again. more clearly, to communicate his thoughts. I seen that his memory was improving. His short-term memory was improving. This one really got me. The hair on the back of his head started turning black. He was fully gray-headed, right? So he started getting hair color back in the back of his head, which I was just like, this is nuts. Like this, I can't believe, like, it's just hard to watch and go, no, like,
The
but
evidence there.
but you see it when you actually see it. It's incredible to see. So that happened during this time. He actually started interacting on social media, and getting, like, reconnecting with himself and his personality. And I'm just watching these changes in him. He fell in love with someone, right? Met someone, fell in love, and moved. They have since got married. They live together. He exercises every day. He sends me videos. He moved out of country to be with this person that he loves. But I see videos. He sends me videos of him lifting weights, like lifting weights down at the river with friends. And he's got a life jacket on and he's swimming. And now, he has caretake, he has a family there that is caring for him and helping him. So he's still learning stability. But one of the big signs is there was a day, I think it was a couple months in, he told me his feet were hurting. And I know that sounds bad, but we were super excited because for a person who has neuropathy and has no feeling in their feet, a
No,
little bit of pain is actually kind of a good indicator that
nerve growth.
feeling is returning, right? And so I was like, Dad, I know that doesn't sound awesome, but that's kind of awesome. Like, it's you're getting feeling back. Like, whoa, and so he continues on this road of recovery. He goes, they go down to the beach, he goes walking. The color has returned. I didn't even really realize this, but he got very pale in his skin, but now he's got very orange, reddish kind of life back into his tone. And yeah, he's happy and successful. So I get to talk to him every couple of weeks because he's international now. But he's doing well, and my progress continues too, right? So I'm looking at, like, hey, maybe it's time to start hitting the gym and start working out. I've got a little extra energy. I got to weigh a little bit less. I can move a little faster now, and so I'm excited to see what's in the future for me as well.
That is absolutely extraordinary because, yeah, I remember when we first started you on the patches where, like you said, how your father, you would ask him a question and he would struggle to, 30 seconds would go by, a minute, 2 minutes, and you're like, and you could see your father's frustration, but he couldn't get the words out. And you would tell him, it's okay, Dad, just take your time, I'm here. But he physically could not do something that we're taking for granted because we can speak and articulate and we can share and express our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions without any hindrance. But he was clearly impaired in that regard, which shows you the degree of neurological damage and how that diagnosis that he had of Parkinson's, what it was affecting him, definitely affecting his quality of life and stealing his joy, right? And to go
Yeah,
through that,
it was amazing. I remember once, we're, being with him, and I asked him something, and it took him a minute, and he goes, I'm trying to say it. And I was like, you know what, Dad? I will wait 5, 10 minutes, however long it takes for you to collect your thoughts and speak,
hard work.
I could see the emotional change because my dad's always had a beautiful mind, and a big heart, and deep, passionate thoughts about things. And I know that in there, those thoughts were still occurring, but the translation to get those from his mind, out and out through his to vocalize it, there was difficulty, and I could see him kind of dealing with that difficulty and stuff. And to now, that time from thought to speech, where it was several minutes, I think on a bad day when I see him, maybe it's like a minute. You know what I mean? When he's kind of struggling, but mostly he can respond fairly quickly. And the most beautiful thing, he laughs, he smiles. I've seen him laughing so hard, that tears have come to his eye. And I'm like, yeah, like that's where I want my dad to be. I want him to be happy, and I want him to be joyful and experiencing life in that way. So yeah, it has just been absolutely tremendous and beautiful.
So he got his life back. And instead of being still stuck in the chair where things would have gotten infinitely worse, He has actually been able to turn the other cheek, and now things have gotten infinitely better. He's traveling, not just local, he's traveling across the world, internationally, fell in love, got married, is working out. He beat you to the gym, even though he's your senior, and is working out.
Totally.
And he has a beautiful, joyous life, which otherwise he would be confined. You know, that chair would have been his prison, all because you took that decision, said, you know what, I'm going to not only do this for me, but I'm going to also put this on dad and have dad benefit from this. And to think that it didn't take a year or two for you to see these results. It took, and everybody's different, but as severe as his condition was, because it isn't that severe any longer, 2 months to see these radical changes and then to have the hair growth. Because I know that the most recent pictures I saw of him where he's there on the beach with at the time he wasn't married yet. And his hair's dark. He looked like a thin Santa Claus before. And now
Yeah.
oh my gosh, his hair's dark and now it's shorter, of course. And he's just so rejuvenated. And this is something, one of the new things that I've been telling people is that the crystals, that are on these patches, that, they're white dots here, but they're actually a lattice work of crystals. They act like a mirror. And I don't know about you, but every single person, it doesn't matter if you're a human being, cat, dog, horse, goat, parakeet, or if you're a piece of furniture. If I put you in front of a mirror, the mirror will reflect back everything that's in front of that mirror. It doesn't matter what the sofa believes or what the person or the cat or dog. Animals don't have belief systems. They just are. They don't have a left brain. They just exist, and they're in, they follow their instincts. But that mirror reflects everything. And so those crystals are behaving like a mirror, whether you believe or don't believe that they work or they don't work, just like you didn't believe or not believe that your stem cells work, and they've been working since you were conceived. And so the moment those crystals of that patch touches anywhere on your skin, it's instant, just like standing in front of a mirror. No one is so special that it's not going to reflect back your own body's infrared light. Chemical reaction is going to happen, whether you feel, some people, eight out of 10 people will feel warmth, feel cool, feel tingling, feel a vibration, feel something. But I was in the 2 out of 10% that didn't feel anything as soon as I put my patches on. Now, I did notice a significant increase because my thing was I had lost all my short-term memory. And so I didn't feel like a rush of energy or anything, but I knew that it took quite a bit of effort for me to read. And if I wanted to memorize something, I had to write it down. I had to highlight it. I had to outline it. I had to write 3x5 cards, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. The rote method over and over and over again. If I wanted to memorize it, then I needed to pick what I wanted to memorize so that I could repeat it verbatim. It took a lot of effort. And this one day between the 3rd and 4th week of my wearing the patches, it's because I was still making my way reading the 90 independent studies that we have. And then I noticed that I set the paper aside because I'm like, wow, the languaging is so good here in this abstract, the beginning of the research paper on the ice wave pain management patch. And then I noticed the key words. I thought, wow, of all the research papers I've read, this has the best group of key words. And it really stood out to me. It's like organic nanotechnology, photobiomodulation, and acupuncture points. Even though there were only 4 words, I could have not remembered that before I was on the patches. I would have had to memorize them. And so I took the paper, hadn't highlighted it yet. I just set it to the left and then went on to my Zooms just like this. That afternoon, I had about a dozen people on a Zoom call. And then when somebody asked me about pain management, I remembered verbatim. I remembered the 4 keywords, no effort, took no energy. I could see the paper in my head. And then out of my mouth came the part that I wanted to memorize. I had only read it once and I was able to repeat it. And I'll repeat it to you now because it's been in there ever since. And it said that the life wave, ice wave, organic nanotechnology using photobiomodulation applied on traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points proved to be effective on all the subjects wearing the stem cell activation patches, resulting in a significant reduction in pain from 50 to 100% in all subjects. And I thought, well, gee whiz, I read a lot of research papers, just like book writers. Some of them are great writers, some of them not so much. This one happened to be a good writer. And I go, even someone who doesn't, know technical language, that's pretty clear that it was a significant effect on all the subjects of 50 to 100% reduction in pain from wearing the LifeWave IceWave organic nanotechnology photobiomodulation acupuncture point patches. I thought, wow. And as I said that, I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, my first thought was, it's funny how the human brain thinks. My first thought was, my memory is as good as it was when I was a pre-med student at USC. That was my first thought. And then in that second, I had another memory. Isn't that funny? I remembered being 5 years old, November of my kindergarten year, and I remembered I had eye surgery. So both of my eyes had been patched for a full week. Could not see because I had eye surgery in both eyes. And then I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. I had general anesthetics. I remember being wheeled in to the OR because they had told me, it's like, okay, as soon as we, get you into the OR, we're gonna put you to sleep so that we can do the surgery. Then I remember the anesthesiologist asking me certain questions, and he says, pretty soon you're gonna feel a little sleepy. And the next thing I knew, the lights were out. And I realized, oh my gosh, I had general anesthetics when I was 5 for that surgery. That means that was my first traumatic brain injury. Getting hit by a bus was the second. So that means that during my entire schooling from kindergarten after that surgery until I got hit by a bus, I never had the benefit of my entire short and long-term memory because I had that compromise. Of course, it saved my eyes. I didn't have, because part of the thing was my eyes, I could do it now on purpose, but basically some of the muscles were a little loose. So I had one eye, I would get lazy eye, what they call lazy eye, where when you get tired, one eye will drift off and only one eye will be focused. I don't have that, thank goodness, because of that surgery. But I inadvertently had a compromise in my memory, and I never had the benefit in the rest of kindergarten, first, second, third grade, all the way through high school and all my advanced education, university, post-grad. And I realized my memory is better than it's ever been in my entire life. I didn't have to learn. I didn't have to memorize. I didn't have to recall. It took no energy, no effort. And I thought, I've only been on the patches 3.5 months. I'm sorry, 3.5 weeks. If this is at 3.5 weeks, I'm like, now I'm starting to understand the other people that I see that have been on the patches, why their focus, their memory, everything is so clear. I'm like, oh my gosh, who wouldn't want this? It's like, it makes life so much easier because you just remember stuff without having to effort. That's
Yeah.
a game changer. Total. And so your dad has experienced that. You have experienced that. Carol has experienced that. All of us on the patches, if the patches did nothing else, luckily the patches, they take care of everything, not just one thing. But that is a huge game changer to move forward in life where you don't forget things. You remember things. You're like, oh, yeah, I didn't even write a list to go to the supermarket. I remember exactly what it is. I see patterns and numbers that I never saw before. That's because my brain got optimized from kindergarten. It got reset to what the original was from conception, not from birth. That's a game changer for all of us. So that is huge. Oh, Clint, I am so happy to hear about the update. I didn't realize that your father had gotten married, so more progress. He continues to live a very fulfilled life. Is there anything, if you were looking at Clint 6 months before being on the patches, and you could speak to him now and look into the camera and say, hey, I'm Clint, a year and a half, almost 2 years after you started on the patches. I want you to know XYZ. What would you tell yourself?
Oh, man, that's really good. I would say that, if I was looking back, I'd say, hey, Clint, I'm the future you. And you're right. Your body is capable of incredible things, and you don't have to accept the substandard norm or the insufficient diagnosis that some medical providers can provide without a real assessment that they need to do or without real comprehension, and that there are alternative methods, and you're about to find one, and it is going to significantly help you uh, achieve what you're trying to accomplish. And so I would say keep going on and continue to explore, and be cautious and be mindful. There's a lot of in healthcare and a lot of medication out there that is really good and really helpful at the right
Life-saving.
times, and yeah, life saving, 100%. So I
Absolutely.
don't ever want to kind of come off as I'm saying those things don't matter. They
But they
do,
do.
but
They do.
there are advanced forms of treatment, of therapy, that are less invasive, that do not, submit your body to this kind of side effects that some of these pharmaceuticals can. And if you're, and I would say this to anyone else who's considering, um, don't put a patch on and stop everything you're doing. Put it on and grow forward
Yes.
from your experience. It can help, and it is it's the magic of the body and the beauty of the magic of the body. I don't think that we fully yet understand in all of our science and all our research the full capacity of what our human mind and human body is capable of. And this definitely helps to unlock that.
Yeah. So that's the beauty. So to think that even though you had stopped a lot of those, the 13, 14 prescriptions that you had prior, I love the fact that you're a pathfinder. You are the personified individual who had this purpose and passion to find your own path to a better, healthier, happier state and to live your purpose with passion. And you were in an unwanted place prior. And your journey led you to this place where now you can actually be that bridge and you can hold someone by the hand and say, listen, I know what it's like to be in a shitty situation because I've been there. And,
Yeah.
if you're taking all sorts of things that you're knowing that they're not all, there's or some or all or none are benefiting you, but you want to improve and restore yourself and not just add more chemicals into your body that may not be to your benefit, in the sense that instead of getting infinitely better, you're actually getting infinitely worse, which is normally the traditional progression for most people in the centralized medicine route. And we need centralized medicine because when you're in an emergency and you're going to the ER and you're either having a heart attack or you're about to lose a limb or whatever that trauma is, you know what? No one can beat us. We are at the top. It comes with chronic inflammatory conditions and other type of things that's where now you can do both, and you can unring the bell even if you stopped taking these. Like in your case, you had already stopped taking 13 of these prescriptions. Not easy to do.
Right.
Much easier to detox from those things and rebalance your body when you have 33% additional cellular activation based on your original blueprint prior to conception. We have people
Yeah.
all the time.
And just to reinforce there, so I was taking 13 to 14 prescriptions. I had reduced that down to maybe 7 or 8 when I started the patches. As of today, I only have I think 3 prescriptions on file, one of which I never use, and two of which I only use when I absolutely need it. When I'm having some kind of, flare up or symptom or something where I feel like it's appropriate. It's kind of like taking Tylenol. If you have a headache, take Tylenol kind of thing, right? Like that's where I am with medications today, which is
Huge game
really
changer.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for people who are watching, I want to speak to the person that's watching this. We've got people obviously on the Zoom call, but we have individuals that are watching this both through Facebook Live and they're also watching it through YouTube. There's somebody out there who is maybe feeling guilt because they use cannabis or maybe they use alcohol, or maybe they use some other drug of choice, maybe not necessarily prescription, or maybe it is by prescription, maybe it's over the counter. I mean, I've known people who go to Costco and they buy the largest jug of Advil and they finish that entire jug of Advil in just 30 days. And it still doesn't take all of their pain away. So I want to say, first of all, this is a no judgment place. And Clint will tell you, because Clint's known me for a long time, no judgment, because first of all, those of you who are in that predicament, whether you're doing 3 scotches a night or whether you're doing cannabis or whatever, maybe you're just smoking cigarettes just to take the edge off, because sometimes people will smoke cigarettes. They feel that that kind of, helps manage their stress. And a lot of folks, have those quote unquote addictions. But I want you to think about this. It's like, don't feel guilt over that. You know that you want to get off of that. You want something better for your body. So you're human. And we as human beings, we're self-soothing creatures. How many times do we see ultrasounds of babies in utero and they're either sucking their thumb, that's a self-soothing mechanism, or they've got their 2 little fingers in their mouth before they're even born. They're already self-soothing. And so it is our nature that if you're in pain, if you are in anxiety, if you have any kind of discomfort, you're going to want to self-soothe with something. It could be your own fingers, or it could be a cigarette. It could be 3 scotches. It could be, there's no limit to what it could be. So
Yeah.
my message to you is, you're an amateur anesthesiologist like everybody else on the planet, because whatever you went to your guy who was your centralized medicine gentleman or gentlewoman, lady, that prescription didn't work for you, or prescriptions didn't work for you. And maybe on top of that, you're doing that and alcohol, that, and it could be, medical grade marijuana. It doesn't matter what the label is. The thing is, you're seeking out something outside of you to self-soothe you. I got to tell you, I'm always in awe when I have people who come to me and shortly after they've been on the patches, and we don't make any medical claims. These patches were not designed for, fixing medical, like addictions or for Parkinson's or for MS, or they're not made for a disease. These were designed to actually activate your original blueprint, whatever that was at conception, prior to your birth, because you were exposed to things in utero. It can unring the bell of damage, replace, restore, and regenerate everything. So what we see in effect is, without trying hard, I have somebody right now who had a terrible opiate addiction, and for years he's been still suffering from horrible withdrawals, even though he hasn't touched the stuff for a few years. He won't even take supplements for fear of how his body is going to react to the supplements. So now he's just starting now on the patches. I've had people who smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. And I thought, okay, I can't tell you how long it's going to take for you to detox from that and have your sense of smell come back, your sense of taste, sense of hearing, sense of touch, and for your digestive system, your hormonal system, your neuro. I don't know how long all of that's going to take. Everybody's different. I don't know what other things, you're doing. But what I can tell you is that over the course of 12 to 18 months, we can turn over the majority of the 56 trillion cells in the body. And you are going to see a progression over 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, 9 months, a year. For the people that we have who take blood tests every single day or 3 times a week because they're on kidney dialysis, they're not feeling much different on dialysis that first week, but their blood work is showing a different story. And they're like, whoa, and their doctors are going, oh, wait a minute. Your blood work from today, Wednesday, is much better than it was on Monday, for the first time in months. It's like, okay, well, and then as you move forward, now a couple months go by and you don't have high blood pressure when you finish dialysis. I have more than one person that's in that predicament now, where they're like, they feel so much better, their energy's up. Now their doctors are telling them, and you're 1 in a million. Instead of me prepping you to get a kidney transplant and put you on a kidney transplant donor list, recipient list, you're probably going to be getting off of dialysis pretty soon, and you're not going to need kidney dialysis anymore. But their blood work is showing that. And of course, then their energy levels go up, and then people around them after 2 months, after 3 months, people are going, what are you doing different?
Yeah.
So the whole thing about whatever quote unquote, and I do say quote unquote addiction, because again, you're a self-soothing creature. Nobody likes pain. We want to take that edge off. If we can't get rid of it altogether, we want to take the edge off. Well, this is an organic, non-invasive, holistic way to do that. And so you guys, you can reach out to Clint, you can reach out to me. If you want to ask any questions, Clint does this phenomenal work. He uses the patches as a tool in his practice as he guides people in a Pathfinder modality, because oftentimes when you lose your health, it throws things with your career and your purpose and passion off, because so much time, money, and resources is going to take care of this issue, which is a big deal. And now as you restore your health, you're like, oh my gosh, it's like finding your purpose and passion becomes much easier. I know that both you and we've witnessed each other have a radical change since the first time we met in 2021 at that Dr. Joe event. Have we
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. It's
And
massive.
it's massive. And so we want nothing more for you than to experience the joy, the happiness, the increase of energy. Oh my gosh. You go to sleep. You don't toss and turn anymore. You sleep like a baby. You sleep very sound, because the patches will induce a REM state of sleep, because that's what's required to activate your original master smart cells. See how all that works? And so then
Yeah.
you start to receive all these benefits. Anything else that you want to say in closing here, Clint?
Yeah, a couple things real quick. First, I'd like to just talk a second about the alcoholism, and then also just to further on to what it is, the work that I do with the Pathfinders and the program. And so you mentioned the alcoholism, and I'm really glad you brought that up. I was doing the same thing too. Every time I'd go out and be around people, I'd, drink some whiskey. And um, a lot of times it was to reduce pain, reduce anxiety, and feel socially acclimated to the environment that I was in. And it was, gosh, man, I think about 6 or 7 months ago, I was out with a group of people and we're kind of hanging out, and someone's like, oh, you want something to drink? And without thinking about it, I was like, no, I'm good. And they're like, yeah, why not? They're like, whatever. And before I could think about it, the answer that slipped out of my mouth was so incredible. I said, because I already feel amazing and I'm having fun. And like, I didn't even realize, like, I just didn't even feel the need to drink. Like, I was having such a good time. I had no pain in my body. I was having fun with my friends. And I'm like, why get intoxicated? Like, I feel incredible. Like, I don't need it, So to know, and now look, I can't remember the last time I've had a drink, but I'm not saying like I'm against it or anything like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the thing that made me think I needed to have it is gone. It's just
yeah.
gone. I don't feel that compulsion in any way or any degree, which is just fantastic. So yes, definitely, I want to just reinforce that. That has been another part of the journey and for me. And so also, to tie this in also to the work that I do at Evolving Mindsets, our community. If anybody's looking, wants to get in touch with me, one good way is you can go to www.evolving-mindsets.com. We're going to be opening the public part of that community in the next month. It'll be open in 2025 for people to come in. But what I help with is the mindset that goes behind it, creating custom individual pathways for people to find their success. Sometimes this is in career development. Sometimes this is just a personal goal. We have limiting beliefs. We have things that we've learned in our past, ideas and thoughts that hold us back. And what I specialize in is helping people find the path beyond that, how to get past that thinking, how to get past those behaviors, how to change your attitudes, your habits, and your life cycles, because the patch absolutely does gives you that physical
Heavy
body
lifting
boost, right? But we still have to consider what
mindset.
our opinions and attitudes and thoughts about ourselves and the world we live in, how that's impacting it. And if you really, to me, want to dial in that benefit, right, you get the physical side working for you, you get the mental side working for you, and then that helps people to move forward in their life. And I've worked with people who are struggling from addiction recovery to people who are trying to find work, get themselves reintegrated into the workforce, to people who are trying to up level their business or find their niche and turn their passion into a profit. For me, the work is it's not about a specific goal to accomplish. It's about finding that thing that will accomplish the goals for you and helping you line up and connect to what your truest authentic desire is in your life. And what I found is when people do that, everything else starts to improve within their life.
Yeah. And so I just want to give a shout out to you, Clint, for having the courage to step forward and to follow your passion. I got to let people know here, when I met Clint, he was working for a very large, everybody knows this tech company. Since you haven't mentioned them, I don't want to mention them, but everybody's heard of this tech company. Everybody's used their technology, let's say. And Clint was managing, teaching, training people both in the United States and in Europe, going back and forth. And I know that we were oftentimes trying to coordinate calls and so forth because he was, transatlantic. He was going back and forth between Europe and there, and he had hundreds and thousands of people where they paid him very, very, very well. In the top 2% of income earners in the world, let's just say that. So he knows what he's doing. He knows how to deal with large numbers of people. And the thing with the patches is that you're going to be able to restore and reset your body. I don't want to ever give anybody a license for drinking or doing any kind of drugs, but I'm going to give you two examples because I think we're in the holidays right now. And just like Clint was saying, he went out with friends just recently and he's like, no, he didn't really need to drink because he already felt amazing. So I was at Thanksgiving dinner at my little brother's house. And then, of course, they offer me a glass of wine. And of course, I said, yeah, I said to my sister-in-law, hey, Jen, yeah, whatever you're having, I'll have too. So I had, a glass of wine. And then instead of having a second glass of wine, because I knew I was going to be there till midnight, because we're there from like 4 till midnight. So that's a long period of time. I knew that I'd be fine by the time I have to get in the car and drive back. But after the first glass of wine, I said, you know what? I'd rather use one of your, you have a grapefruit carbonated beverage that's organic in there. I'll have one of those instead. And I did not have any more alcohol because it was kind of off-putting. I just didn't really want any more. And I've had one of the gals that I started on the patches about a year ago, May. Her name is Lisa. And she said that when she first started on the patches, she was out at the river partying with her husband and with other friends. And a mutual friend of ours, Steve Pavelson, he's one of our mutual neighbors here, went out to the river and was also partying with them. And Lisa had noticed that Steve all of a sudden was so much more rejuvenated. Prior to that, could not raise his hands over his head because of, injuries and surgery that he had had. And now he's like moving and grooving and everything is fine. And that Saturday they were on the boat and they were drinking all day long. So as she's talking to Steve, saying, hey, Steve, you're looking fantastic in your skin. Oh my gosh. And you're thinner, you're fitter. It's like, what are you doing? And he's like, and he's always got a big smile. He's got his pearly whites and rosy cheeks. And he goes, well, Lillian got me on these stem cell activation patches and I feel great. And she's like, really? And so he's like, yeah, here's a few. Why don't you try some? So she tried some, didn't think anything about it. And she's a researcher. And she's like, she goes, wait a minute. No, I don't do any drugs. I don't do, I'm like clean, organic, healthy, eating. And he's like, no, they're non-transdermal. There's no medicine in them. They're not like a nicotine patch or a hormone patch. These are just reflecting your own body's light. Because I really don't know how they work. I just know that I put them on and they're like a little solar panel that reflects back my light into my body. And that's the on switch that turns everything on and it fixes everything.
It's amazing.
So she kept on drinking like they normally do. So she knows that with that MO, the next day she expects to wake up with a hangover and that she's going to be slow and kind of groggy all day long, kind of recovering from the hangover. But that's part of the thing. It's like you partied all day Saturday on the boat in the sun drinking, and then the price to pay on Sunday Luckily, you don't have to go to work. So it's like a slow, groggy day. You sleep in and then you kind of deal with the hangover. And then by Monday, you're clear and you're good to go. So in her case, she went to sleep and she ended up waking up. I think she said it was like 3, 4 times that night. She kept on going to the bathroom to pee. Obviously, her body was detoxing. She's drinking the water. She ended up sleeping only 5 hours, but she woke up energized and she felt very clear. And she's like, wait a minute, where's my hangover? She's like, I drank like a fish yesterday, but I have zero hangover. I don't have a headache. I have zero hangover. She's like, huh, can't be those patches. That's the only thing I've done different. So then she gets on her computer and she's feverishly looking up to see about this technology. And she's like, oh my gosh, my detoxification is so efficient just from wearing those patches last night. That's why I kept on getting up to go pee. Instead of me having to sleep until like 10 or 11, she only needed 5 hours of sleep. She's like, Steve, I need more information on these patches. He's like, I know nothing. Call Lillian. She called me. We got her started on the patches, and the rest is history. So I say that because I also have a gentleman who just started last Tuesday, a week ago, on the patches. And when he called me initially, he admitted to being stoned. He's like, well, I've been smoking cannabis. So if I sound a little groggy, it's because I'm a little high from the cannabis. And I said, no judgment. I go, you're doing what you need to do. I get it. And so he got on the patches. And just in the first 24 to 48 hours, he's like, wait a minute. Now, when I go to smoke the cannabis, I don't get high like I used to. And it's like, there's something to these patches because I feel a buzz in my body, which is a very pleasant buzz, but I'm not high. And I'm focused and I'm energized. I think he's still questioning. He goes, I think these patches are working. I actually have it, I'm actually on Facebook here too, so that people can see this, but I'll be able to post that. I did post something last week, 24 and 48 hours after Joseph, because I asked Joseph, I said, is it okay if I share this with others? And he said, oh yeah, go ahead. So I did post that. And after a week, because this just yesterday, it's a week that he started on the patches. He's like, there's definitely something to this. Obviously, I'm only getting whatever benefit from the cannabis, but I don't get high. And I'm detoxing and I'm feeling so much better. I'm now starting to feel just a few days in where I don't really need to kind of even reach over for that. And I said, just pay attention to your body. And you're just beginning, this process for the next 12 to 18 months. After 12 to 18 months, you decide if you want to drop down to 33% less cellular activation. And then obviously your body's going to be younger 12 to 18 months from now. So it's not like you're going to have a huge drop in energy, but you're still going to be, we still have chemtrails. I used to have the closest 5G cell tower. I just measured it. It was 3.6 miles from me. And now I have one just blocks from me. So for me, I'm never going to stop using the patches because I want to detox from everything, right? And optimize my body so that when I get to, instead of a 90 something, now I'll get to 110 or like Dr. Stacy and I say, we're going to get to 125. We might even get to 150 because in January we have a big announcement, which NDAs are signed, so nothing can be released now. But we had people who had 89 out of 90 people had a physiological response tested by their blood, their EEGs, their EKGs in 15 seconds. One person took 15 minutes. And you can use this with the patches. That's all I'm going to say. So
Yeah. It's interesting, you do another thought it brought up there for me, Lillian. When I was started doing the research on the medications I was taking and opiates, all of that stuff, I wanted to know like why did drugs work? Why do we take them? You know what I mean? And a lot of it I noticed, and I'm not a medical expert or anything, but I saw this trend in the research that I was doing is that a lot of the things we take actually don't produce the feeling, high, or sensation that we want. Our body perceives it as a threat or a trigger, and then our body produces the high, the feeling, the health, the healing that we want. Those things are just triggers. So without the with the what's amazing is the patches is like there's no downside. It doesn't have to panic your body. It doesn't have to threaten your body. It doesn't have to, cause that kind of triggered release to get that elevated clarity and high and all that kind of stuff. It's just literally you put it on and your body goes, "Oh, it's time," and starts to release the healing. It's amazing.
It really is an amazing technology. All right, my
Yeah.
friends, gems. Well, I want to let you guys go. Clint, thank you for sharing this information. You guys check him out on his YouTube channel. I've had him on before. We'll have to have him again. He has some incredible technology. I love his word. He has like a word meditation, mind programming method, which will blow your socks off. You can look it up on my YouTube channel because we actually did a series on my channel a couple of years ago, and it really is transformative. But here you hear of what an entire family, Clint, Shannon, Clint's father, and now this, your family's grown by 2 feet because now you have your father who is married to his new wife, and your daughter, and your kids are now benefactors also. So an entire family has been radically changed for the better. They have a better version of their dad. They have a better version of their mom, a better version of grandpa, who is now joyous, living life to the fullest. What a great example for your kids. So thank you for sharing your testimonial, your story that continues. And I'm so glad from the 28 pounds that you had lost, now you're up to 45 pounds. That's huge. That's massive. And how many people wouldn't like to get that aspect of their chemistry in order, right? And so that is possible. If you've lost weight, you can gain it back. If you've gained weight, you can bring it back down. And you didn't have to work hard to lose that. It's one of those things that your body went into balance. It's balancing everything because that's what's required.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you so
absolutely.
much, Clint.
Thank you.
And we'll put
Thank
your
you.
information in the description so that people can get a hold of you. You show up as Clint Baggett on Facebook. You guys can see him as one of my friends. This video, I will tag him on here so you can find him, connect him, friend him. And you guys, thanks for tuning in, tapping in, watching this episode, both on Facebook as well as YouTube. Rick, I look forward to talking to you again, and I'll give you a call as soon as we're done with this broadcast.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Ciao for now.